A lot of people are misinformed when it comes to these flicks. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 things everyone gets wrong about famous movies.
Indiana, help us.
Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content. For this list, we're examining some popular misconceptions about iconic films. While some of the following entries might qualify as myths, this won't be a myths list, as most are just misunderstandings or errors about movies.
What's this? What's this? There's color everywhere. What's this? There's white things in the air. What's this? I can't believe my eyes. I must be dreaming. Wake up, Jack. This isn't fair.
Number 10. Brandon Lee's actual death made it into the movie, The Crow. Brandon Lee was the star of The Crow, playing the protagonist Eric Draven, and died during filming. During a scene that called for a gun to be fired, a dummy bullet was left in the firearm and was not properly removed, as the gun specialist had gone home. When the gun went off, Lee was shot for real and died later in the hospital. However, despite popular belief, the take in which he was fatally wounded was not used in the final cut of the film, and was in fact destroyed after being used in evidence in the investigation into the accidental death. Number 9. Jason Voorhees is the killer, Friday the 13th. Jason Voorhees is the famed killer of the Friday the 13th franchise, but he wasn't always. In the first installment, it's actually Jason's mother Pamela that murders teenagers, taking her revenge not only on the two camp counselors whose negligence led to her son's apparent death, but also on counselors decades later too.
Look what you did to him!
It wasn't until the second film that Jason himself became the primary antagonist, and he didn't even acquire his iconic hockey mask until the third film. Just goes to show that while a property can become associated with one thing, it's not always representative of the whole.
Don't let her live. I won't, Jason. I won't.
Number 8. It's a prequel, not a sequel. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
What a vivid imagination.
It's a common misconception that the second film in the original Indiana Jones trilogy is a sequel. After all, that is generally how trilogies work, with one following the next. However, like the pulp adventure serials that inspired them, Indiana Jones doesn't follow a strict overarching narrative. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom is actually a prequel, taking place the year prior to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Apparently, writer George Lucas didn't want Nazis to be the villains, and made the film take place prior to Raiders to avoid the hero running into them twice in a row, though the Third Reich would return in the third film.
Nazis. I hate these guys.
Number 7. Tim Burton Directed It, The Nightmare Before Christmas.
This is Halloween, pumpkins scream in the dead of night.
Given that it's often titled as Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, the general public can be forgiven for assuming that Burton was in the director's chair. Given Burton's track record of whimsical yet creepy movies, it seems right up his alley. While Burton did create the story and characters, and co-produced, the screenplay and direction were handled by others.
This year, Christmas will be ours!
Burton's name was likely attached for marketing reasons, since he did provide the seed of the film's idea and was already a big name by that point, both in the industry and with cinemagoers. The actual director, however, was Henry Selick, who went on to direct James and the Giant Peach and Coraline.
Small world.
Number 6. The reason the film was shelved, The Day the Clown Cried.
And in terms of that film, I was embarrassed.
In the early 1970s, comedian, actor, and director Jerry Lewis directed and starred in a movie about a clown imprisoned by the Nazis during World War II. Lewis was reportedly embarrassed with the end result, which is often cited as the reason for the film's lack of release. However, in reality, The Day the Clown Cried was tied up in legal issues once it was completed, with the rights being retained by the screenwriter Joan O'Brien, which delayed and ultimately halted its release. That being said, Lewis's embarrassment may have played a part in its continued lack of exposure. In 2015, a copy was finally given to the Library of Congress, but even they can't screen it until 2024.
Are we going to get to see The Day the Clown Cried?
No.
Number 5. Luke, I Am Your Father. Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back.
Search your feelings, you know it to be true.
You'd think it'd be hard for people to get something so famous about a franchise like Star Wars so wrong. But if you search your feelings, you'll know it to be true. Despite being one of the most oft-quoted lines in film history, the phrase "Luke, I am your father" is never actually said by Darth Vader. The actual line is,
No, I am your father.
The line has, through misquoting and paraphrasing in pop culture, become so prevalent that people mistakenly believe it's actually present in The Empire Strikes Back. This line, along with "Play It Again, Sam" from Casablanca, are just two of the many famously oft misquoted lines from film still in circulation.
Play it, Sam. Play as time goes by.
Number 4. Munchkin Suicide, The Wizard of Oz. As bright and colorful as this classic film is, The Wizard of Oz has some pretty dark rumors associated with it. Perhaps the most chilling is the belief by some viewers that one of the actors who portrayed the Munchkins in the movie can be seen hanging themselves in the background of one of the scenes, with their shadow supposedly visible through one of the backgrounds. While this may be an odd story, the truth is even weirder. Several large birds, like cranes and emus, were allowed to roam the set to give Oz a more authentic outdoorsy feeling. And the shadow is actually one of these avian accoutrements. Number 3. It's the story of one man with no name, the Dollars Trilogy.
Hey, Joe, I prepared the wagon the way you asked me to. We're sitting out in the back here with 2 empty coffins.
Clint Eastwood's character or characters in the Dollars Trilogy goes by and is referred to by several names, including Joe, Manco, and Blondie. Outside of the films, he's referred to as the man with no name, but this moniker was actually created by the film's American distributor, United Artists, rather than director Sergio Leone. The nickname was invented to better sell the films as a trilogy. Though his gradual acquisition of his iconic outfit in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly seems to point to him being the same man, Leone's lack of endorsement could indicate that Eastwood's character is actually intended to be several characters.
Hey, Blondie.
Sorry, Dougal.
Number 2. It's based on a true story, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Sally, I hear something. Stop. Stop.
Part of what made this seminal slasher flick feel so real, apart from the documentary-style camera work, was the tagline that it was based on a true story. While this isn't quite false advertising, it's not entirely true either. Writer and director Tobe Hooper actually drew inspiration from real-life serial killer Ed Gein, whose grisly murders may have involved anything from cannibalism to grave robbing. Hooper was also inspired by a shop display of chainsaws that once caught his eye. So, although he drew on actual events, none of them was close to resembling the cannibalistic, chainsaw-wielding family depicted in the film. Sorry. Still a scary movie, though.
You like this, Dave?
Number 1. SEX in the Sky, The Lion King. Can you feel the love tonight? Midway through this Disney classic, Simba the lion flops down on a cliffside and knocks up a cloud of dust. When played back very slowly, the dust appears to form the vague outline of the letters SEX. Religious organizations have used this as an example of Disney's apparent lack of morality, and the supposed message has been the subject of playground rumor for decades. However, the generally accepted explanation is that the letters are actually SFX, a common abbreviation for special effects, and were inserted by someone from that particular department who worked on The Lion King.
What mook made that up?
Yeah, pretty dumb, huh?
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo and subscribe for new videos every day.